area. Frank is on your left. Solomon. Malka. Should I say it like that every time or no?
I remember Solomon as a much younger man.
Well, everyone ages.
Yeah.
You just keep getting older. That's just how it works.
Well, I try not to admit this to myself.
Okay. Okay. When we covered Grand Prix Orlando many moons ago, Saul made the top 8 of that tournament. And I don't want to say specializes in limited, because that's probably selling him a little bit short, but I think he prefers to play more limited than constructed.
Okay.
And he's clearly having a good weekend here, so he can do it in all formats.
Sure. Well, I think he made the name for himself with the rock decks, these black-green variants that he used to play back in the day that would just be tweaked and tuned for specific metagames.
Do you remember which creature was the rock?
Oh, no.
Come on, Craig.
Help me out.
Do we have Phyrexian Plague Lord at the ready?
Oh, the Plague Lord.
That was the rock. And the creatures that he would sacrifice were his millions.
Sure.
And millions of the rock's fans. Now that is a deck name I can get behind because it's so ridiculous that I like it.
Sure.
I like it.
Ravenous Baloth back in the day.
Yeah, that was boy, that card's not good anymore. But but that was a card back in the day. To catch you up on things here, Solomon started things off with a Narwhal Dryad. Obviously, he's going to be trying to work towards Lyrium. That's the 1/1 Death Toucher. Couple of fast lands from Kaladesh and Blooming Marsh and Concealed Courtyard. For Frank, he ended 2 with Ether to start, so he's got 2 energy, searched up a land. He'll play a land here in a swamp. And he's got a turn 2 play. What's it going to be? It'll be a Long Tusk Cub. Grasp of Darkness is going to kill that right away, and Malka will now untap, and he'll draw a card. If he can grab it, and he has.
Just one.
Yep. In with a little flourish for 1. And now a Tireless Tracker, a card that demands an answer basically right away from Frank, as we head over to him for his 3rd turn.
Yeah, Tireless Tracker. Saul's rocking 4 of these bad boys.
I would.
Yeah.
Might be the best card in Standard, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a heck of a card.
Yesterday we were watching Standard, and I think one of them showed up in someone's sideboard. And it's just like, no, come on, man. Let's get this in the main deck.
What are you boarding that in against?
Everything.
Oh, everyone?
Every single thing. Aggressive decks? Yeah, it's fine.
Control decks? Busted.
Control decks? Fine.
Another Tracker, and now 2 clues on the way.
Combo decks? Yeah, all of those got banned.
That's true. Scattered Groves is the land he played, so 2 clues on the way. And we'll see if there will be any attacks here in just a moment. Saul would prefer to have just 1 clue token and then a die to represent 2 clues. And now he'll just pass the turn back. No attacks. Now, one thing these green-black energy decks do play sometimes are copies of Blossoming Defense.
Yes.
They all play Blooming Marsh, but a couple copies of Blossoming Defense. And Frank's got 3.
Sure.
Frank's got 3, so he's got a couple copies.
You know what Blossoming Defense is not good against?
Narwhal Dryad?
Death Touch.
Yes.
Nailed it.
Got it right the first try.
Still has it.
Narwhal Dryad, that's a 4 of here in his deck. So that tough tree folk. Let's see what we have here. Winding Constrictor. And now Walking Ballista.
This is a good turn.
You know these cards.
Yes.
Pretty well. You were doing this at Grand Prix New Jersey. This is a good 1-2 bunch. These black-green decks, Constrictor is, when this card got previewed, along with Rishkar, everyone thought, okay, that's like a really cute 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
That's probably not good enough. Well, it has proven over its course in Standard. It's plenty good.
Sure.
Plenty good.
Oh, no, we're blocking with
That's not good. That's not good because the Constrictor, you see. That's not good, Saul. The Cub turns into a 4-4, not a 3-3, so he clearly missed that interaction. Not too happy about it as he takes his next turn.
Well, he didn't want to take it and just give his opponent more energy.
I suppose that's true, because that is also bad news.
And he didn't want to double block it and lose both his trackers.
Also true. So maybe that is a block that he wanted to make. He didn't look thrilled about it.
No, I don't think it was what he wanted, but it's tough to say.
Here's a Pick the Brain. A card that we are going to take a look at for those unfamiliar. It is a discard spell.
Ooh, this is a good hand.
Yeah, I see a Walking Ballista, I believe a Tireless Tracker, and a land.
Yep.
So this is going to be really, really tough here for Saul to work through.
Yeah, you don't want to battle another Walking Ballista, but the Tireless Tracker's probably too good to leave him.
Well, it looks like he's going to take the Tireless Tracker. Now, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from it and exile that card. If you have Delirium, it's a whole lot better than that. Saul's going to crack a clue, draw a card, put a counter on his tracker, and simply pass the turn back. And we'll make sure we got the counter on the tracker. There we go. It's a 4-3 now.
Not that die, this die.
That's correct.
That's what we have table judges for.
That's right. Better abide by the rules while you're down there. Or else we'll just ask you to abide by the rules.
Yeah.
That's it.
Whose house is this?
Tough to say. Kind of unclear, actually.
It's the Star City house.
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Frank's on tap. He's drawn, and it looks like he's got a spell to play. And he's going to go with a Glint Sleeve Siphoner.
A little extra energy out of that bad boy.
Mm-hmm. And we'll see what comes next after that. Looks like the Cub wants to come in. Just want to make sure that everyone has the right amount of energy floating around. You know, when this energy deck gets going with Winding Constrictor, and Winding Constrictor is what kind of makes Black-Green go anyway.
Yeah.
Between counters and energy and all that stuff. And you see Long Tusk Cub's going to get even larger now. It's pretty hard to stop. You know, we have seen Mardu decks go to cards like Fumigate and Sorin, and you have to really try to beat these decks with some really expensive but powerful effects. Even a card like Sky Sovereign is something that people went towards, but those are all really expensive, whereas these cards cost 2 or 3 mana. That's really about it.
Well, a lot of the cards are just super good by themselves, and then their synergies add up to be even better. So you want to answer a Glint Sleeve Siphoner right away before your opponent can start drawing extra cards. You want to get the Tireless Tracker off the board before they can start drawing cards. But then we see the leftovers, the things that haven't been killed, are still so good that once you're behind, it's really hard to catch back up.
Yeah, Walking Ballista, plenty fine here. And what also makes this deck kind of difficult is for everything that Frank is doing, the first card you actually want to kill is Winding Constrictor.
Yep.
And then you want to kill the other ones, because if you leave some other ones behind, the Winding Constrictor is going to make those cards so much better. Another Tireless Tracker here from Malka. He's going to play a land, so he's going to get a couple of clues, but these trackers actually need to turn into cards that solve these problems.
Yeah, normally you'd be happy with just a wealth of Tireless Trackers, but he's so far behind that these are not very attractive cards.
And he might not ever be able to sacrifice all of these clues. He's going to draw a card. His trackers are going to get a little bit larger, but those trackers aren't so large that Walking Ballistas, plural, can handle them.
Yeah.
And they definitely can. Now, of course, Saul's already played on land because he already made a clue this turn, so he'll just pass the turn back, and now Frank is going to untap. He'll pay an energy here from the Siphoner to draw a card. Of course, he'll lose a life too. Now he'll draw a card. And pay 2 energy, excuse me.
Oof, and it looked like a Nissa rolled off the top there for Frank.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah, doubling up on the counters here with a bunch of Walking Ballistas. You're already ahead on the board.
That's going to be tough. It's Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. Another card that kind of got crowded out because of Marvel.
Yep.
But we can't forget how good 3-mana Planeswalkers are, period. But this one's a real doozy. 3 mana, 3 loyalty. The -2 is what Frank's using right now to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature he controls. And by 1, I mean 2, thanks to old Winding Constrictor.
The snake loves some counters.
It does. It does.
Why? I don't know.
Just that particular snake just really likes counters.
Yeah.
And Frank is going to be very happy to attack with basically everything here. I'm not sure that Saul has very good blocks because he's got to get in front of that 8/8 Long Tusk Cub, and everything else can kind of come through, and he's just going to concede the game. Frank Tarran's going to win again, everyone, here over Solomon Malka. Green-Black Energy dominates Abzan Delirium, and we didn't really get to see the Delirium half of Saul's deck. He didn't really do all that much, but he's got a bigger sideboard plan to go to, and we talked about how good mass removal can be good, how good they can be, against these black-green decks.
Yep.
He's got 2 Descend Upon the Sinful. That's a great place to start.
Yep.
2 copies of To the Slaughter. Now you're going to find a bunch of one-ofs in Archangel Avacyn, Gonti, Lord of Luxury, Grasp of Darkness, Manglehorn, Never to Return, Ob Nixilis Reignited, Pick the Brain, Scrapheap Scrounger, Sorin, Grim Nemesis, a Whispers of Emrakul, the old discard spell, and a Plains. So, I ask you, Craig, what do we like here in a black-green mirror?
I think he's going to sideboard into a straight-up control deck. I think he's going to want to take the discard spells that we saw in Game 1 out of the deck. The main deck, Pick the Brains, was just very mediocre.
No real effect.
Yeah, it was a whole turn-off to not impact the board. And then a whole bunch of these cards can come in. The Descend Upon the Sinful seems great. Archangel Avacyn is good. Gonti's going to be good. Grasp of Darkness is great. I can see the Never to Return. And then the Planeswalkers, along with the Plains, all coming in to complete this higher-end control package.
Yeah, he's got, let's see, 2 Descends, Archangel, that's 3, Gonti's 4, Grasp is 5, Never Return 6, Ob Nixilis is 7, Sorin is 8, Plane, that's 9, probably?
That's a ton of cards he could potentially bring in this matchup.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff. I'm curious to see what he's going to sideboard out here, but he's got a lot of options. We'll see as we go over to Frank's side. He's got 3 Henny's Expertise, 2 Never to Return, 2 Sky Sovereign, Council Flagship, 2 Transgress the Mind, and the one-ofs for him are Heroic Intervention, Gonti, Lord of Luxury, Kalitas, Trader of Get, Life Crafter's Beastery, Manglehorn, and an Ob Nixilis of his own, so he can go long too.
Yeah, and he might want to put some of these value cards into his deck that are good long, but he's not going to want to dilute his deck too much. He needs a lot of the synergies to go on. He needs the creatures that work with one another. So I can see, Gonti coming in is just always good. I can see the Life Crafter's Bestiary coming in. I can see a couple of the Transgress the Mind coming if he expects Saul to go a lot bigger.
We've seen a lot in Standard. When Marvel was around, but even when we had a lot of Mardu mirrors, players would just go big.
Yes.
That was the thing. They would board into, a card like Gonti is going bigger and going longer and really just trying to grind people out in a card advantage battle. Their cards would run into each other, and then it was kind of like, well, I've got a Tireless Tracker and a couple of clues, and you don't.
Yep.
So you can't really keep up with me now. And in that particular game that we watched, Frank got so much card advantage so quickly with Whining Constrictor that even though Saul had drawn 3 Tireless Trackers, much too slow.
Yeah, he didn't have a chance to crack all those clues, get any value out of them. We saw, his mana was just kind of jammed up. The best thing he could do the one turn was to Pick the Brains, which didn't impact the board when he was already behind, and it got worse and worse for him from there.
Well, these players will sideboard and shuffle up. Solomon Malka will be on the play here for game number 2. But while they do get ready, let's talk about the StarCityGames.com weekly sale, where until Monday morning at 10:59 a.m., you can get 15% off of select Modern cards like Damnation, Polluted Delta, Meddling Mage, and Lightning Bolt. We'll have a new sale for you on Monday morning at 11 a.m. But for now, head over to go.starcitygames.com/weekly sale for more information. I'm assuming that you've got some of these cards waiting at home already.
I haven't worked it out with her yet.
Okay.
But like you said, we've got until Monday morning.
It's true.
So my wife Jasmine's going to be on top of this.
It's only Saturday.
I haven't scrolled through the whole list of cards on sale yet.
Okay.
But I am short a few original Zendikar fetches. So maybe, she'll fill out my play sets of those.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. A couple Misties.
Yeah.
A couple Verdant Catacombs. You strike me as someone who's already got the Arid Mesas. I don't know why. I just got a feeling. You've already got 4 of those, no?
I don't.
Okay. I was wrong. Generally, oftentimes wrong. Let's learn a little bit more about Frank here very quickly before we watch the second game. 26-year-old from Merrick, New York, 3 open top 8s. Might be adding an invitational top 8 to this player slide. Lost 160 pounds, did Frank, over the past year and a half, and he said he's still going strong. So good for him and good for the member of Team Metagame Gurus who, look, eventually he's going to add another top 8 to the resume, be it Grand Prix, be it Open, be it Invitational. A lot of people don't know he's a 2-time Grand Prix champion. He's won 2 limited Grand Prix. He takes a lot of pride in his ability to play limited. And he used to produce content for Star City a couple of years ago before he kind of took a break from Magic. And limited was his go-to. He would even say himself, I'm not a very good constructed player. He didn't really put a lot of time into constructed. But nowadays, you got to be good at constructed to be able to do well at Magic.
Oh, you really do. There's just so many constructed events now. They're so competitive as well. You can't just show up with a deck that you haven't played before, not know a whole lot about the format, and expect to outplay your opponents. Back in the day, it was a little different. Yeah, and he's on the right team to do it.
I agree. I think Team Metagame Gurus, they've had a really good year.
Yep.
You know, it's a down year from Jim. He can admit that. But Ben Friedman's had a really nice year. Andrew Jessup is an Open champion. Danny's had a pretty nice year. So those guys are they're finding their way, and they work very well together.
Yes.
I will say that.
They're on top of all of the deck types in all of the formats.
Mm-hmm.
They usually show up with, one of the top decks or their own innovative deck, which turns into one of the top decks. So if Frank wants to be good at constructed, he's in the right spot.
A 2 with Ether is where Frank did start things off, searching for a basic, of course, and getting 2 energy. For Saul, he's got a turn 2 play there in Walking Ballista.
Boom.
So he'll slam that down and get this game started.
Quite the board presence. 1-1. Pass.
Hopefully getting a little better. It's just really, Magic and metagames and all that stuff. Marvel was so good. Obviously it's banned now, but it was so good that you kind of forget that there were other things around. Walking Ballista for a little while in Standard just defined things.
Yeah, it was the Mac Daddy of cards.
It was just like the best thing going. And people were just thinking, does this card need to go? And why is I can't play a bunch of stuff? Veteran Motorist, a great card, got crowded out of the format. And now we used to see stuff like this all the time, which is Walking Ballista taking out Walking Ballista and having to take a damage to do so. We'll go over to Malka now. Does he have land number 3? He does. Now he's going to play a Gnarlwood Dryad and simply pass the turn back.
It looks like another slow start for Saul, but if he makes all of his land drops and he's got a couple of those Wrath effects, he'll be much better positioned for this game than he was last game.
Yeah, I think he'll be totally fine. I think getting the 6 mana and being able to play Planeswalkers and Descend Upon the Sinfuls, as you mentioned, going to play a big role in things. It's going to be a lot different than the last game. Glint Sleeves Siphoner, a Hissing Quagmire, and a passing of the turn. So Fatal Push will take care of that creature. And now we'll head Saul's way.
Very close to Delirium.
An artifact, a creature, and an instant. Just one more to go as he's going to play a Blooming Marsh tapped and simply pass the turn back over to Frank. Frank will draw a card. We head over to Frank for his 4th turn as he plays a land. And another Glint Sleeve Siphoner after 4 energy. The follow-up is a Long Tusk Cub. Pass the turn back. So Cub can turn into a 4/4 at will. Looks like there's a removal spell here from Saul. Question is, what does he want to kill? He's going to Grasp of Darkness the Cub. Now it's time to untap. Does he have an answer for the Siphoner? As he'll draw a card. Walking Ballista for 2 would be pretty nice right now.
That would be pretty nice. I think he only has 1 in his main deck.
Well, that's not going to happen then. That's off the table.
Yeah, Liliana the Last Hope would be spectacular.
That'd be awesome. Never to Return will take care of the Siphoner. And now in for more than 1. Let's make it 3 with the old Gnarlwood Dryad. And now a Traverse with Delirium. All right, so the deck is online now.
Yep, doing what it does.
Yep.
He's not so far ahead that we're calling this one already.
No, not at all. I think we've got quite a few more turns left to play. Though I am curious to see what he's going to search up, if he's going to go to Ishkana.
Yeah.
And he will. I wasn't sure if he wanted to go to something like a Mind Rack Demon, given that it's not going to really hurt him anymore, but he'll take the Spider.
Yeah, the Spider's just too good. Brings all the Spiderlings along with it.
Yeah. Another card that has gone forgotten.
Who, Ishkana?
Yeah. Really good card.
Super duper good.
Yeah, really good card. I just think of, that previous Standard format when Marvel was legal. All I think of is people marveling.
Yes.
And it's like hitting Ulamog, and it's just like, well, I don't care what card's in your deck. And then Marduk's trying to kill him before they got marveled. That's basically all I could think of.
Even before that, it was Infinite Cats.
Yeah, that's true too.
And sure, man, you played a Spider and some 1/1s.
Yeah.
block 4 of my infinite cats.
Got crowded out of the format.
Yeah.
Here's a Gonti, Lord of Luxury. And we'll take a look at Gonti very quickly for those unfamiliar, of course. Really good in black-green mirrors. I think Brad Nelson, one of the first people to figure this one out, as Brad oftentimes does.
Yep.
It's a 4-mana, 2/3 Death Touch, so the stats aren't all that impressive, though the fact that it's always going to generally trade with something's pretty nice.
Yep.
And then you get to, when it enters the battlefield, you get to look at the top 4 cards of your opponent's library, exile one of them, and then you can play that for the remainder of the game. So a weird little card advantage engine, I would say.
Well, and you get a premium card.
True.
It's not one random card that you're ending up with.
Yep. And you can pay any mana cost to cast it.
Yes.
Yeah, so that part's nice as well.
Not any mana cost.
Well, you have to pay. You can use mana of any color
Yeah.
to cast it, basically. Excuse me. I misspoke. But it's a nice little card. Not a card you can play a ton of, but it is a nice sideboard option.
I know. At the start of the format, when black-green was quite popular, you started to see one of these in the main deck, and up to 1 or 2 more in the sideboard. So that is potentially a lot of those.
Well, these black-green mirrors are all about card advantage, card advantage, card advantage. That's kind of the thing is, you know, back in the day when Saul was playing, black-green decks really couldn't draw cards. That really wasn't much of a thing. Now, this is the best, apparently, that Gonti could do. I guess we're using the word luxury a little loosely here.
Yeah, sometimes Gonti isn't as exciting as you'd want it to be.
Able to find a Gnarlwood Dryad. And now there's a Long Tusk Cub here for Frank as well. I'm curious to see what land Saul's going to search for, if it's going to be the second white.
Plains for sure.
He's grabbed it, but he's thinking. Yeah, he'll get the second Plains. But back in the day, the black-green decks really couldn't draw cards.
Yes.
Nowadays, it seems like all they do is draw cards.
Yeah.
Tireless Trackers and Gontis and Planeswalkers. They've got all these card advantage.
The Glint Sleeve Siphoner.
Yep.
Yeah, the color pie has gotten all jumbled and mixed up.
Black-green decks, in the way back, it was all about, well, I hope I draw the right half of my deck.
Yeah.
That was kind of what they were about. And if they did, it was powerful. Now it's less about that, and they can actually kind of tailor their deck to do certain things, as you see Ishkana come on down along with 3 Spiderlings.
Well, I think that just the fact that there's an energy version and there's a delirium version shows that there's more versatility to it now. It's not like back in the day there was the rock deck, and then there was a different black-green deck that you could be playing that was competitive as well.
Yeah, there was one black-green deck.
Yeah.
4 energy right now for Frank that he can pump into the Long Tusk Cub to make it a 4/4. Gnarlwood Dryad's going to come in here, as is the other Death Toucher, it looks like, and Gonti, Lord of Luxury. It looks like there's going to be a triple block on the Gonti. Okay. Going to lose 2 spiders. Little damage will come across there from the Gnarlwood Dryad. It's 15 all. And the follow-up here for Frank is a Tireless Tracker. There's a land. Here comes a clue. And we're going to head back over to Malka.
Yeah, and this tracker is potentially a big problem.
Yeah, if there's a removal spell there, I think you got to cast it. It's a Renegade map. Things I did not expect for 500.
Well, it's a 1-drop. He is playing 3 colors, so it helps him fix his mana. And it puts an artifact in the graveyard.
For Delirium.
For Delirium. We talked about how he's only playing 1 Walking Ballista. A lot of the decks had more copies of Walking Ballista, so it was easier to get that artifact into the graveyard.
Saul is also cheating a little bit on lands, 20 lands.
Yep, 20 lands, 21 after board. It's a little light when you're going all the way up to 6 with Descent Upon the Sinful and big Planeswalker.
Yeah, big Sorin, the Grim Nemesis, which I have to imagine is in his deck after sideboard too. So 3 6-drops after sideboard for the Abzan Delirium player.
Well, if we count the Noxious Gearhulk, that's probably still there.
Yeah, let's make it 4 then. Yeah, because I wouldn't board that out in this matchup. 2 clues right now for Frank. So he plays another land. But Ishkana is buying Malka some time here. Here's a bunch of mana. What do we have here?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Did he bring an Ob Nixilis? Oh, it's a boat.
That's a boat.
It could have been anything.
Instead, it is just a boat. The boat is going to take down the little spiderling.
Just a boat is actually very good on this board.
Yeah, I think it's actually quite good, too. And now here comes the Gnarlwood Dryad. Malka's going to take, it looks like 3 more from the Death Toucher. You could trade Ishkana with it if you'd like.
And the vehicles are good against sweepers as well.
Yeah, all right, there will be a trade. Are we setting him up for Descend Upon the Sinful? That's the question. All right, Dissenter's Deliverance. And now he's going to sacrifice the Renegade map in his upkeep. He's got a little bit of everything in this deck, I'll tell you what. A little bit of everything. Yeah, 2 main deck copies of Dissenter's Deliverance, which it does cycle. So it is, I don't call it free because it's not, because it takes up a card slot, but you know, you can afford to play one.
Sure, and we had talked about how we thought Mardu Vehicles was going to be one of the stable decks. So it's a very good card against that deck. Like you said, cycles for 1 mana, which is nothing.
Black-green at times does struggle with Heart of Kirin.
Yep.
It's so big, it flies. It makes them have to draw Grasp of Darkness to kill it, basically.
And it's good against all the Gearhulks as well.
Yeah, very true. Very true. To the slaughter. Cub down. Is there another removal spell here? There's a Swamp. Liliana. Okay. -1, 2. Grasp of Darkness in a Swamp. Ishkana, where are you? There you are.
More spiders, please.
Yep, come on back. So Frank is, well, he's got no cards in hand, though he'll draw one for his turn, but 2 clues on the battlefield.
Yeah, I still like his spot here. He has the Tireless Tracker. He has 2 clues going on. He's going to be able to scoop up the Liliana, take care of that this turn. And clues always just beget more clues.
Yeah, if he starts to flood out a little bit, that means he'll get to draw some more cards, and if he's not drawing lands, that means he's drawing spells.
Yep.
So.
Win-win.
Yeah. As Michael Scott would say, that's win-win-win. It's win-win-win.
Had to use compromise on that one. Wasn't pretty.
Tracker's up to a 5-4, and now we got another clue on the way. In for 5. See you, Liliana. The last hope. And Frank will pass the turn back. Now we know that Malka does have an Ishkana in hand, but he would love to kill that Tracker. That's what's causing him the most problems right now. There is the big bad spider, along with 3 spiders.
This will buy a lot of time, but the card advantage is still a big issue.
Malka will pass the turn back. Frank's going to sacrifice a clue to draw a card. And he will untap. It's like a Fatal Push. Kalitas in hand. It's got a lot of goods.
It's got a Tireless Tracker.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
That's the goods right there.
Don't really need much past that. A heck of a card.
Yeah, he's playing every format now.
Yeah, he's playing Legacy. Yeah, he's playing Modern too.
Yep.
Actually, I don't know if it's made its way to Vintage. I wouldn't be surprised. Here's Virtuo's Gearhulk.
Ooh, that's a big boy.
This card always feels underplayed to me.
The Gearhulk.
That particular Gearhulk. I've expected more from it, I will say. It's the cheapest Gearhulk, that and Cataclysmic. But I always thought this one was just going to be, not to say that it's been bad, because it's good. I just thought it was going to be, like, absurdly good.
Sure. Well, we've seen decks kind of swing wildly from playing 1 that they try to tutor for with Traverse the Evenwald, all the way up to just 4 because it's too gosh darn good.
Couple copies here for Frank this weekend. He's got 3, so he's into it.
Yeah.
Kalitas is now here. Beat downs with both. There's a nice chump block.
Well chumped, sir.
Yeah. Gonna take 6, will Malka. Yeah, you said that Ishkana is gonna buy Saul a little bit of time. I'm not sure how much. There's a Fatal Push, which does have Revolt. But I think, yep, Blossoming Defense is gonna save that. Saul will draw.
Really needs a Wrath Effect.
Yeah, it's kind of got to be Descend Upon the Sinful, like right now.
This turn, potentially next turn.
There's Liliana the Last Hope, aptly named. Gonna minus Gnarlwood Dryad and Traverse the Uvenwald. See what he wants to get back from the graveyard.
Yeah, it might just be a Dryad here to try to trade with one of these fatties.
Tough way to do it. When Dryad is going to come back, he'll play that.
Yeah, the 1-drop is very exposed to all the removal spells from the other deck.
Like that Fatal Push?
Like that Fatal Push.
Yeah.
Even Grasp of Darkness gets it.
Frank going to get a zombie, and that Dryad's going to be exiled, of course, because Kalidas is on the battlefield. So there is Frank's zombie, and he will untap. Certainly the driver's seat right now. Don't forget, among those lands, there's at least one Hissing Quagmire.
Dude, what happened to Sylvan Advocate?
Forgot that card was still legal.
Yeah, there's so many good cards in Standard. You can't possibly play all of them.
Sylvan Advocate was like the end boss for like a year.
Well, you mentioning the creature land is what made me think of it.
Okay.
It used to just be like, Sylvan Advocate would stick around through the mid-game, it would get big, and then it would close out games fast because there'd be a creature land hiding out back there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to date myself here. That was like a year ago, right? When Advocate, like in 2016, that was just like the go-to 2-drop for Green Bay stacks. Like they would play that, and they would play Hissing Quagmire or Lumbering Falls,
yep,
or something. And yeah, that was just like, I can't.
Feels like an eternity
Yeah,
ago.
I can't deal with this. 2-3 into a 4-5, and Dramoka's commanding your entire board.
Yep.
Does feel like a really long time ago. I guess the 2-drops are just better. I guess.
They're all really good, and I guess they're more synergistic.
Yeah, he's just going to extend the hand here. Not even Sylvan Advocate could save Saul Malka that time. As Frank Skarren's going to win this match here, 2-0, rather easily here for the Green-Black Energy deck, taking care of Abzan Delirium. Saul's deck, but not able to do some of the powerful things that it is capable of. And Frank's deck, very consistent, but also kind of showing off, at least that game, the power of Tireless Tracker.